Well, I think it's been a really fantastic event and wonderful to be here in Joburg in South Africa. The three big things for me are we've seen real evidence of how our city mayors are demonstrably increasing the scale of action to tackle climate change. We measure this in the number of actions, and it's doubled over the past 2 years to about 8,000. The other thing, though, is that there's real clear evidence that the C40 as an organisation is really working, that this idea of bringing mayors and officials together to share knowledge is what they need and want. And in fact, the great thing, we've seen 3 new African cities joining just this week as a result of this being in Joburg. But actually the thing that everybody's talking about out there, as you know, is the fact that we can now see the door opening at the intergovernmental stage for cities to have a voice. And what we really want to see out of this is that mayors and cities will be able to put pressure into those big climate talks in Paris in 2015 so that we do get an outcome that stops catastrophic climate change. Well, we're very much a data-driven organisation. We've had Mayor Bloomberg as our leader, and he's made it that way. And what we launched this week is our Climate Action in Megacities 2.0 report, which is, if I tell you, it's 1.7 million data points that we've surveyed all of our members to understand the actions they're taking to tackle climate change, the powers that they have available to do that, and the levers that they're using, whether it's financial incentives or whether it's direct government delivery. And what that shows us is, as I said, a doubling in actions, but it also shows us that there's a real growth. Projects that were small pilot projects 2 years ago have now been transformed into things that are being delivered citywide. And we're seeing some interesting trends, particularly being here in South Africa. You can see that now knowledge is transferring from south to north as well as from west to east. And particularly things like bus rapid transit, which I know you're doing here. Only 13 of our cities had bus rapid transit 2 years ago. 29 of them do now. And actually half of those, they're in the rich cities in the West, not just a thing for Latin America where it started. I could talk through dozens of examples, LED lighting, building retrofit. It's all the same trend of increase and transfer from different parts of the world. I think it's made extraordinary progress. I mean, I was very lucky in that I was working for Mayor Livingstone as his advisor when we set this up. In fact, he gave me the task of creating it. And it was a small idea then. It was, we'd benefited from talking to Stockholm and Copenhagen and San Francisco in doing our plan in London, and we thought, let's institutionalise this. And we invited 20 cities to come to London. It was a relatively small deal. Then Bill Clinton got involved. It became a very big deal. But I think what Mayor Bloomberg and his team have done in the last 2 to 3 years has transformed the organisation. And there's a real buzz here. There's a real sense that this is where it's at. I spoke earlier about the idea of Benjamin Barber, that when mayors rule the world, that the days of the nation state are perhaps declining and they can't cope with the big global problems. But what you see here is these mayors, they're competitors. New York and London, they're big competitors, but they don't have armies. They don't confront each other with trade tariffs. They can work together and they can help each other to all move forward. And that basic principle is what the C40 is about. You come together with good ideas, you hear what other mayors are doing, you steal them and you take them home and say that they're your own. Yeah, that's been a really interesting part of the discussion. So as an organisation, we come from top down. We're looking at how do cities save the world? How do we stop catastrophic climate change? But obviously for our mayors, they're dealing with the day-to-day things. Their citizens stop them on the street to know why the trains aren't on time. The waste needs to be collected, the schools need to be run better. What's fantastic though is that you see the real strategic vision of these great leaders is that they're understanding that whilst the impetus has got to be to solve the problems of today, they think about the impact on the long term. So our citizens are seeing buses that go more quickly, that are cheaper, that are cleaner, that less air pollution, that the streets are cleaner. But behind all of that, we're also reducing carbon emissions. We're generating energy from waste rather than from coal-fired power stations. So it's a real great combination of the short-term and the long-term goals. Why does it work? Fundamentally, because there's much more in common between the great large cities of the world than there is a difference. So whilst every city is unique, I think of it in philosophical terms, they're a unique combination of universal elements. And when they get together, it's the universal elements that they talk about, and they can just help each other. It's the best person for any mayor to talk to or any city official to talk to is not an expert hiding away in the ivory towers of a university. It's another city official or another mayor who's been thinking about the same problem and might have found a way of solving it that they'd never thought of in their city. Well, I think that's the real breakthrough at this summit. We heard an extraordinary talk from Cristiana Figueres, who's the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Climate Programme. And she asked to come to this conference, and she wanted to hear what mayors were saying, and then she had a lunch with the mayors to find out exactly what she can do to bring them into the process, to unlock the impasse that exists at the national level around climate talks. So I think more than ever before, cities and mayors now have a voice at the intergovernmental level, and let's see if we can really make that heard in the run-up to Paris in 2015. Well, we've got a huge number of things on our plate. We launched here a new City Director programme, so we'll now be providing a free resource and a competitive process to 7 of our cities around the world, a top individual who can help them deliver a major programme or project. We're looking to put some more dots on our map, so 3 new African cities, that's not enough. I want all the major African cities to be in C40. So when I leave here, I'm going to be going on a little tour around this great continent to try and persuade a few more mayors to join. And we hope we'll do the same in East Asia, in the Indian subcontinent and in Latin America, so that we're a truly global organisation.